Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Analysis Paralysis, where today we'll be looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly of Crusader Kings 3. Now, Crusader Kings 3 is the third part of the Crusader Kings franchise, with the first game being released in 2004. 8 years later, Crusader Kings 2 releasing in 2012, and another 8 years later, now on the 1st of September 2020, Crusader Kings 3. Crusader Kings 3 is what's called a grand strategy game, but it also encompasses a lot of role-playing mechanics, and that is what sets it out so differently to a lot of other games. Now, one of the first things that you'll notice when you load up Crusader Kings 3, it is an upgrade on the former as far as the graphical representation of the game goes. It is and has taken that step up. They've done a magnificent job with the UI and just the general graphics. The UI is just very, very clean. It's very subtle. One of the big changes for this particular iteration of Crusader Kings is the change in the graphic and art style of the characters. Previously, Crusader Kings used 2D pictures of the characters, whereas now they've taken fully 3D animated models to represent the characters. And you'll see here that tooltips are a magnificent part of the game. They put so much effort into giving that information, or all the information that a user needs, at their disposal just via the UI. So definitely a big thumbs up there to Paradox doing so. Now, on this particular screen, this is the starting screen. So whenever I jump into a game, one of the first things that I look for is the immersion factor. That is such a big thing for me, or the suspension of disbelief. And I will go through this separately in another video in more detail. The first thing that we can notice here is kings of old are being replaced while newcomers reach for the stars. Which will you be? At the start of the game, in a new game, you get to select the starting date. The starting date dictates the different characters or preset characters and the scenario and the geography of the map of the world in this time and age that Paradox has suggested that you start your character as, to then work through and create history based on that time, place, and character. We can see the different parts of the map that each particular character represents, whether they're a duke or a count, and that dictates how the gameplay will work for the character, and also how difficult each character is. So, for example, Ivar the Boneless, you can read this at your own leisure, but can you win Ivar's wars and keep him alive to rule for many years to come? The Wrath of the Northman, this is the general blurb for this set of scenarios and characters. Will you lay all of England under Norse rule, or vanquish the great heathen army from Anglo-Saxon? So effectively, we've got a little tiny backdrop or backstory here that guides us with Ivar the Boneless and puts us into this immersion factor into the game. So I can see here, this is my area of land in England around the time of 867, and I've got a son, etc. But can we stay alive as Ivar for longer than 870? First thing you'll notice here is, once again, this beautiful graphical representation of the entire known world that Paradox uses for Crusader Kings 3, and you'll see how large and how broad and the breadth and complexity of the counties, duchies, kingdoms, empires that encompasses the world. And we can tailor, the different types of map filters, which give us all the information and detail we need to. And that filters down. As we zoom in, the map changes, and we get more information at our disposal. These still apply, these different map filters, to give us that information. But you can see here my character, it highlights my character's land that he does own. And we can see here the different county levels. We can go straight down, we can see villages, we can see castles and temples, etc. So we can see this particular type of visual detail all on this particular map. Clicking on my character here, we can see the spouse of my character, High Chiefess Predis. We can also see the children of Ivar, and we can click on them. And once again, we've got all this information at our disposal. They are, well, for all intents and purposes, real life characters in this world, and they all relate They interact differently in the game. They've all got different type of traits, etc. And this gives us a backstory. I mean, this particular character, Ivar, has been preset by the developers to have these type of statistics and traits, etc., which give him the type of backdrop and backstory that fits this character historically. But the brilliant thing about the game is that for every new child that comes into this world, they actually develop their own traits, and you as the character do have the option there to help mold the children in your care and decide what type of traits they would take on. But a lot of the time they are dynamically driven, so they will mold randomly, and that just gives you so much flexibility for replayability as well, because no game replay is going to be the same. You're always going to have different characters with different traits, with different stories, acting out different type of subplots and schemes and intrigue as such within the game, the way they interact, the wars that they wage. I mean, the actual game rolls through, and if I unpause it now, it does roll through on a daily basis, and you will see that, you know, we're playing our own game up here with our character and their decisions, but in the entire world there are kingdoms and characters that are initiating their own stories, and this is all being played out on such a grand scale. It's just a magnificent way to actually shape your own story in the complexity of the world that you sit in. So as far as, you know, replayability, I mean, you've got the option to choose a different character at the very start of your playthrough, but even if you choose the same character each and every time, the story is going to be different. It's just by virtue of the fact that the dynamic characters that are created around you in this world change. Now, also, how do we start this game off? We obviously know that we're, you know, a Jarl of this particular area. We know that we're meant to sort of conquer England as such. We also know that we're meant to sort of survive another 3 years past the historical date. There's sort of some of the challenges, yeah, or the quests that sort of push us into this space. You know, I already feel immersed. I can see, you know, the space around me in this world. But also up here, we've got these tool tips and issues as such that sort of ground us and help us to move forward. So we've got options to nominate a successor. The other ones here, lifestyles. So for example, this is one of those aspects that I was talking to you about. As a character, you do get to shape and mold your lifestyle moving forward. So it isn't all completely random. So for example, here we can see here that our character Jarl Ivar is already set to a martial education, but we can change that to a diplomatic type of lifestyle as such. We can also see here that he's already unlocked 10 out of 27 perks, as they call them, in that lifestyle choice. So for example, we know that Jarl Ivar is probably going to go on a bit of a rampage warlike, so let's just go for a particular type of focus in the military lifestyle, and we'll give ourselves some more martial +3. So these here help shape and create your character and your destiny. We can see here our heir is unmarried, so we can marry off our heir and we can choose from the different type of characters in this world. And once again, they've all got their own backdrop, backstory, age. You know, does this particular character give us an alliance with a different country if we marry them off, etc. So there's all these things that we can look at, this information that we can digest and set up to make the best decisions possible. A lot of the issues here, we can see that it's a suggestion to recruit men-at-arms to boost our army. We are not endorsed by our Hofgodi, so that might be because our Hofgodi has got a negative opinion of us. So we can do something about that. We can right-click, we can try and sway Anders, etc., improving his opinion of you. We can send a gift as well, which can also increase the opinion. The more, the greater the opinion, obviously, then they'll be more likely to give us taxes and also levies for our army. We can also look at creating the Duchy of Marn. We can recruit more champions. We can call your dynasty member Jarl Sigurd. We can actually see down here, we're actually part of the Sons of Lodbrok invasion of East Anglia and also Lothian on the map as well. So we can actually call people, you know, our allies or dynasty members into our wars. We can declare more wars. There's 15 possible other wars we can actually declare. So we must have a casus belli on those. We can take a concubine in addition to our wife. We can also promote an active election in the Kingdom of Alba. We're in line to inherit titles, 8 of them, in fact. We can also designate a guardian for probably a son or daughter. And the guardian will help mold, as I said there before, that character and give them certain traits or statistics and boost those. So we can see which is going to be better for us moving forward for our son to have. We can also marry off some of our sons. So there's a lot of things here that are already guiding us down a path and immersing us into this world by virtue of the choices that we can or we need to make. Now, as far as gameplay goes, it's going to be about war, yeah? We know this. The time and the place of this game automatically lends to that. You wouldn't be looking at this game if you necessarily weren't taking that into account. Right here off the bat, we're part of 2 particular wars, okay? So what I can actually do here is I know that I can do right now is to raise my armies, okay? I can raise all my armies. They will land here, and I've got 1926 warriors. I can march my warriors over here. Why am I marching them over here? When you click on the actual war icon down here, it actually highlights these more so. And we can see the allies, we can see the war score, actually -13 at the moment. That is dictated by the fact that the defender controls the war target, okay, so Lothian. So we can see Lothian here, this is the area, Lothian. So what we can do is march our armies over there. We can get stuck in, and now we're sieging, okay? So there's a siege in progress, and you'll see the 3D animated character on the map. So we're actually in the process here. It's saying it's 9 months left, but it actually, there's siege events that actually work. So a siege is in process. We can see there's a daily siege progress each day. It's fully stopped, but now the actual defenders are running low. There's starvation. So different events work through the 7 months, and that may lessen or quicken the actual siege process. While that's sieging, we can see the time's moving forward. Now, there's other things happening in the world. This visualization over this area mean that they've already been captured. All right, and you can actually see that the top realm is owned by the Petty Kingdom of Northumbria. Aethelwulf is the county holder level, but the occupant is actually Jarl Halfdan, White Shirt of Jorvik. Okay, so he's actually taken this land and already captured it. Okay, so there's armies, Jarl Halfdan host, and he's indicated a hostile army as well. Now, why is that? It's because he's actually in a war himself. Okay, so he's got a separate war over this land. He wants to try and take this land himself for himself while we're doing the same. So when you have 2 competing priorities, we're effectively not at war with him, but if our armies engage with each other, they'll actually fight each other. So that's another little thing that we need to look forward to as well. Now, while we could follow through with the whole war line of thought, you don't even have to do that, per se. I mean, war is undoubtedly part of this game, but because it is a character-driven game, you can actually set up subterfuge and schemes and try to blackmail your way through the game without going to war. If someone, another character or another county kingdom wants to go to war with you, you can actually, you know, try and bribe your way out of it or give them what they want to actually stop war from proceeding, okay? And you can build yourself up by, you know, methods of deceit, etc. There are decisions. These are like almost like quests in the game. Once again, they sort of help shape how you will progress. There are things like intrigue and factions. Intrigue, for example, are schemes. So you can actually set up a scheme. And as I said there before, let's just, I mean, this is just a base one, but not endorsed by your Hofgodi, okay? I can right click and I can do a sway scheme. This one's probably one of, you know, the most basic scheme, which will increase opinion of this particular character. And I've basically started a scheme against this character to try and boost his opinion, which will help me with my taxes and my levies and just his general opinion, and hopefully that'll stop him from scheming against me based on his negative opinion. Even if we don't go to war, we've still got to look out for things, murder plots as such, with assassins, with factions, etc., as they work through the game. So there's a lot of different things here that we can do within the game, and we haven't even touched a lot on the different aspects of the game as such. But as far as gameplay goes, if this is your type of game and you like this type of game, then there's a lot here for you to do. I definitely recommend this game. As far as the good, the bad, and the ugly goes, this game, the good far outweighs anything negative. I mean, I've already touched on the good. The graphics are great, the gameplay is great, the replayability is fantastic, the UI is fantastic, the graphics are great for this style of game. Everything it does well, and that's built on the back of the previous iterations of Crusader Kings, and this is just a greater enhancement of that already proven formula. The bad things, I mean, for someone that's just starting the game, you may be overwhelmed with the amount of information that's given to you at day dot. Now, you would have seen there on the very start menu that there is an option of a tutorial. So you can actually jump into, the tutorial as such. There is also a tutorial lessons tab here in the encyclopedia. So there are ways, and as I said, the UI is designed to cater for those people, and they give you a lot of information, but at the same time, you can find out that information yourself just by virtue of the UI. And you're not going to just die like that. Up until the point that you may not necessarily need to rely on these type of, tool tips and issues as such, because you understand where you're placed in the world so much. Now, the ugly part of this game, I can't really see an ugly part, but in saying that, Crusader Kings 2 did get a little bit of flack because of the vast volume of DLC that was released. But once again, DLC is always going to be a bit of a divisive issue. We don't know how the DLC is going to look for Crusader Kings 3. Hopefully it's not going to look the same. I do believe they do have a season pass, and they're going about the DLC a little bit differently with Crusader Kings 3. So hopefully this won't be an ugly part of the game. Overall, if you like role-playing, if you like character development, if you like grand strategy games and, strategically maneuvering your armies or your objectives in the world, this has got a lot to offer you, and as I said, a lot of replayability. So I definitely give it a 2 thumbs up. I will be posting some one more turn playthroughs for this if you want to know a bit more about this game and how it does play out. Okay, again, thanks for watching. Just remember to subscribe, click the like button below, leave a comment, and remember to click the bell if you want to be notified of any upcoming videos. I will be looking at more videos for a lot of other types of genre of game, etc. in this AnalysisParalysis channel, which look at a suspension of disbelief style, as well as one more turn style videos as well. So look forward to joining you on the next one. Okay, ciao.